Welcome to the Imaginarium, the show where art, technology, and creativity intersect and combine to forge a conversation that can only be found in the Imaginarium. I'm Scott Colbert, and with me as always is the Randall McMurphy to my Nurse Ratchet, the horror nerd himself, Todd Staruch.
Hey, Scott, that was even better than last week's.
I racked my brains to come up with something that is just perfect.
I will be Randall McMurphy any day. Any day.
I think you would probably be a good Randall McMurphy.
Why? Because I'm slightly off balance?
Well, yeah, I mean, you would have to be off balance to be on the show with me. That's kind of a prerequisite.
Fair enough.
So how was your week, Todd?
It was good and it was bad. It's a shortened week, because of Labor Day, so that was kind of cool. But everyone was driving me crazy this week, so there's that.
Oh, yeah, well.
There are days when I question my career choice. That's a fact.
Well, just before I got on Skype to do this, I found a stain on my carpet, and I'm looking at it, and it looks like blood. So my first reaction was, is my cat bleeding? Not am I bleeding from any orifice, but is my cat bleeding? So I go find her and I check her out. She's not bleeding, and I'm not bleeding from anywhere. So I don't know where the stain came from. I don't know, but it looks like blood. And I put my finger in it, and it had the viscosity of blood, but I don't know where the fuck it came from.
Huh.
So I'm thinking Amityville horror type stuff now.
That's interesting. Better call the ghost hunters.
Yeah, really. We're going to do something a little bit different today. Rather than really kind of interview somebody, we're going to talk about games. Particularly one game that I think you may have played a little bit of, Todd, Skyrim.
Oh, God. I am embarrassed to say how many hours I have invested in that game since it came out.
I think you said 600?
Probably. I played it through twice. So probably if you combined, it would probably be about that.
Our guest is somebody who's played a game or two in his lifetime, and he is the co-host of Jack Random's whatever the hell he's going to call it this week podcast. And that's Kyle Fulton. Hi, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
Hi, it's great to be here. I'm going to say right off the bat, I might be the one person in the world who has you beat on the amount of time in that game. In all of them, really. In the Bethesda games in general, you put them all together, I have to have at least 2,000, 3,000 hours in them.
Wow. By the way, that giant bright thing in the sky is the sun.
I know. Somebody had to explain it to me the other day. It was kind of a shock, but I wandered outside after 2 straight weeks of Metal Gear with no sleep, and it just kind of threw me. But it's it's fine. It's fine. I'm good. I got my brain back. Because the thing is, I know it's a lot less sad than it sounds, I promise, that enormous amount of time. It's because I'm the kind of guy who I absolutely always have to be doing two things, otherwise I can't focus, and usually one of those two things is a video game. So if the other thing is more important, I'll just put in a game that I've played a lot, and I'll just sort of autopilot it, and the Bethesda games tend to be They tend to be one of my favorite, just autopilot experiences, So, when it comes down to it, when I don't have anything else to occupy my brain, I just grab Skyrim or Oblivion or Morrowind or one of the Fallouts, and I throw it in and just sort of go. So it adds up.
So have you played more of Fallout or Skyrim?
Definitely Skyrim and the other Elder Scrolls games. I really do enjoy Fallout, like a lot, but I'm more of a fantasy guy usually than a post-apocalyptic sort of. Yeah.
What about you, Todd? Have you played the Fallout games, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Overall, I definitely spent more time in Skyrim and Oblivion. I think maybe just because the worlds and maps are a little bit more expansive and there's more to discover along the way. I love them both for different reasons. I like Fallout, for the realism and some of the brutality of it. And I'm a big fantasy, guy too. I love D&D type games and hack and slash type games. Anything to do with killing monsters and collecting loot is for me.
I'm kind of the same way. I like the Fallout games, and I played the hell out of Fallout 3 and Las Vegas, New Vegas, the expansion for it. But there's something about the Morrowind and Oblivion, the Elder Scroll games, that seems to be missing from Fallout. And I'm not quite sure I could put my finger on it, but there's something that keeps me going back and playing Skyrim and Oblivion and Morrowind over and over again, and I don't have that need to go back to Fallout.
I definitely do, but for very different reasons. If I had to hazard a guess, I'd say that it's because the Elder Scrolls games are an original creation of the guys making them, whereas they actually picked up Fallout a little bit after the fact. So, like, what you have here is a case where you have an incredibly rich world created by the people who have been making it since day one, and then you have Fallout, which is, although also incredibly rich and interesting, it's still not. I don't think that they're quite as invested. It's kind of hard to say that. Like, it's kind of nasty to say that, I guess, because they're clearly very invested in it and they do amazing things with it. But by the same token, you have this incredibly thoughtful, detailed fantasy world that they created from the ground up, and then on the other side, you have an alternate history Earth thing that they didn't. So it's sort of to me, it seems pretty clear that one of them would be like the favorite of the two, and just end up being more rich, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
I think maybe it has to do, at least for me, is even, a couple of years later, and I didn't start playing Skyrim until a couple of years ago when I was able to finally get a laptop that was powerful enough to play it. But even 2 years later, I'm still finding stuff that I haven't seen before or I haven't heard before.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a good example is today I was in Windhelm, and you've got that little girl who sells the flowers and constantly bothers you to buy them all the time. So I bought them, and it happened to put me overweight. I went from 335 to 336, so I couldn't move anywhere. So I dropped, I think it was a dagger or something. I just dropped it on the ground, and out of nowhere, this guard came over and said, "You can't leave your weapons lying around. Pick that up." I had never seen that before, and it just tickled me.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I love most about Skyrim, and would put it over the edge for me over Fallout, is once you've played it for a while, you realize that these AI characters sort of lead lives that have nothing to do with you. So little things like that happen, or when you haven't played for a while and you come back and things have changed, people are in different places, you're like, I don't know whether that's really cool or really creepy,
Right.
But yeah, I liked all that random stuff in Skyrim. It makes it much more interactive. I think Fallout 3, even though it's obviously it's an open world game, it seemed a little bit more linear, story wise than Skyrim. So I still loved it. I mean, Fallout, I thought was very cool. And Scott, I just was on a trip last month, in the beginning of the month, to Washington D.C. with my daughter. And the minute we got downtown and we were on the National Mall, the first thing I thought of was Fallout 3. Because I remember, I'm like, wow, I know what this stuff looks like after it's been destroyed,
That happened to me a couple years ago, almost exactly.
Yeah.
I think that what you say when you say, that Fallout is a lot more linear is absolutely true. Like in Skyrim, right when the game starts, if you want to, you can take a left turn instead of a right and basically skip the entire story and not even pick up some main gameplay mechanics. If you feel like it, you can just wander away from the game, never get the shouting ability, and just do other stuff. Like it is so under your control.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very cool aspect of it. And the second time I played through, I sort of did that. I think I didn't even start the main storyline until, a couple hundred hours in. And that's only because I wanted to try it more of as like a bad guy than a good guy.
Right.
So it was pretty cool.
Oh, how did that go, playing as a bad guy? I hadn't even really thought about doing it that way.
Well, there's certain things you sort of have to do to progress the game that are not quite so dickish. But I ran around stealing a lot of stuff, getting in a lot of trouble, just robbing people blind, sneaking into their houses at night and stealing everything, just that kind of stuff. It was fun.
All right. Did you ever slaughter a whole town?
Oh, God, all the time. Like, both in Fallout and Skyrim. When I get to a certain level and I have some really cool staffs and weapons and stuff, it's like, okay, time to save my game and just go on a murder rampage.
Yep. I was just playing this was inspired by a series of Let's Plays I saw online, right? Where somebody basically picked a personality disorder for their character in Fallout 3 and then just played the game as if they had it. And they went with like severe narcissism. And I was like, okay, that sounds like fun. So I picked it out and I'm playing through this game right now as like a severe sociopath. Like absolutely, I just make no decisions whatsoever based on emotion, and every single choice based purely on whether or not it gets me what I'm aiming to get. And it is the most fun I have ever had playing this game.
Yeah.
I am having a blast.
Todd, what was the first Bethesda game that you ever played?
Oh, I played Arena. Well, I don't know if that was Bethesda at the time, but it was an Elder Scrolls game. I don't know the provenance of it, but I played all the Elder Scrolls games.
Wow.
But, listen, I'm Kyle's probably a little more aware of where Bethesda took over than I am. But is Morrowind Bethesda?
Morrowind is definitely Bethesda. I believe I'm blanking right now. Of course I am, but I know for a fact Morrowind is absolutely Bethesda.
All right, then let's go with that.
Okay. They've got like a premium collector's edition that have all of the games in them from Arena on up. And I've got that, but I haven't been able to get Arena to work yet on my laptop.
Oh, but a shame. It's damn good for what it is for the time period. I wish to God that I could get. And I need someone who knows how to mod, because I need to get some functional controls into Arena and Daggerfall, because they're amazingly cool, but they're like borderline unplayable if you're used to any sort of controls that are not terrible.
I think if the Elder Scrolls and Fallout games have any, well, actually more of the Elder Scroll games have any downfall, it's their menu system.
Oh yeah, it's a mess.
Skyrim is probably the best of the lot, but I went back to play Morrowind, and I'm like, holy shit! How the hell did I ever do this with a controller? Because when I got Morrowind, I had an Xbox, and that's what I played it on. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, I can barely do this on a laptop. Never mind what I did on a controller. It was just so clunky.
Yeah, I've not been able to. It's the same kind of thing. Like you go back to it and look at it again, and it's just a mess. Skyrim's not all that much better, to be honest. It really is just a hell of it. There's a lot to keep track of, and they can't quite seem to keep it straight. But the big issue with the original 2 is that it's not WASD. You can't use the arrow keys or anything like that. You use the mouse, and you sort of put it at the top of it's like literally everything you do with the mouse. There's no other controls of any kind. You like put the mouse toward the top of the screen in order to move forward. You put it like, it's weird. It is so weird. I've never been able to get used to it.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking when they came up with the controls for that. I mean, because it really, other than the controls, I mean, those games are damn near perfect just about. I mean, aside from all the bugs that make the game interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to Bethesda games, it's the bugs are half the fun. Is how I've always said it. Like Skyrim would not have been the same if there weren't dragons flying backwards for the first couple weeks.
Right?
I almost think maybe they put those bugs in on purpose as almost like Easter eggs.
Yeah, they certainly don't. They certainly don't put forth as much effort as some people to get rid of them. It makes sense. Like the bigger and more complex a system is, the more issues are going to arise in it, and these are hugely complex games. There's just so much going on in there. Of course, you're going to end up with a lot of bugs, so I excuse it, but at least the bugs tend to be funny in this particular case. So it helps.
So what's been the funniest bug that you've run into?
Oh, that one. I've never laughed more than I did at the dragon flying backwards because it was just weird. I also always like it when the dragons were spawning with no skin. Like there was basically just they were just like uncovered polygonal models. They looked like, wireframes. Basically.
I didn't have the wireframes, but I have had skeletal dragons flying around, and these are the dragons that shouldn't be skeletal. Right.
What
about you, Todd?
Yeah, I got to go with those. I had so many weird glitches with dragons. I mean, there would be times where one, you'd kill one, and when it would hit the ground, but then instantly it would be somewhere else. It would just disappear, and then it would sort of be flopping around on the ground like a fish.
I take it back. I got the best one.
Yeah, so and there's so many funny things with the dragons, so much so that I can't really think of any other bugs in Skyrim that made me laugh. I mean, there were goofy things like, you could put a bucket on a shopkeeper's head and then proceed to steal everything from in front of their face and get away with it.
Yeah,
I thought
that was so funny. You talking about dragons flopping around reminded me of the best one. This is absolutely the best one that ever happened to me. The first dragon I killed, after it died, it followed me. It followed me everywhere I went for about 20 hours in the game. I kept walking around, and there would be its corpse just laying just outside the door and like scooting along, like twitching. And I don't know why. I have no idea. It got to a point where it was kind of creepy, and then thankfully it just went away. But it got to a point where I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? What possessed this freaking dragon polygonal figure that it wants to haunt me? Like, what? It was really funny.
And it doesn't even help you kill anything.
No, not at all. No, just hanging around.
Do either of you bring followers with you?
Basically never.
Yeah, me either.
I like the idea of followers, but the AI for them is so wonky. I just leave them at home with the kids.
Yeah, I take Lydia with me twice in Skyrim just so that, she doesn't feel bad, and then I send her back.
Yeah.
And I just don't do anything.
Yeah, just forget it. You can't sneak up on anyone if you've got a follower. You can't. You're right, Scott. The AI is so wonky, and flipping over back to Fallout for a second. I had such mixed feelings about the dog. Dog meat.
Yeah.
I would get really upset if I'd be playing the game and he would die, like almost as if my actual dog had died.
Yeah.
But
it's
then
very upsetting.
He's so freaking annoying because, okay, I'm going to sneak up on this band of 8 Oh, there goes dog meat charging into the freaking, there we go. I guess I'm going to have to fight.
Yep, exactly. That's why I just don't use them. I take them with me once or twice so that I get that feeling of, hey, I've bonded, and then I send it away and never think about it again. That's always been my strategy.
I'm going to assume both of you have the expansion packs for Skyrim.
Oh, yeah.
Was there ever a more annoying place in the Soul Cairn?
No. No, that annoyed the crap out of me.
I think that's the one place next to the Hidden Vale. We've got to find the 4 or 5 different places to get the water from. Those were my 2 least favorite places because I always got lost in them. Even after I've been there a couple of times, I still get lost, and I hate going into them.
Yeah, there's not much you can do to help those places out. They were very unpleasant. And the Soul Cairn gave me a freaking headache. Being there gave me a headache. Just the whole visuals of it, everything about it, just
everything is at odd angles. It reminded me a little bit of Outland in World of Warcraft. It had those kind of angles and that sense of discombobulation.
Right. I'm not a WoW player, so I don't really have any frame of reference for that.
Okay. Well, that was a lost reference then. Oh well. What about you, Todd? What's your least favorite area in the game?
Although some of the graphics and visuals are pretty cool, I didn't really care too much for Blackreach. Mm-hmm. I had the same issue. I kept getting disoriented and lost. And then I'm like, all right, I'm running around in here to find these dopey red Nern roots that I now decided I don't remotely care about. But I still did it for completeness sake. I don't like having unfinished quests in my quest log, no matter how stupid they are.
I think, if anything, the Elder Scroll games and Fallout games really enhance whatever OCD you may have.
There's no question about that. I don't know how many iron daggers I made so I could get my blacksmithing skill up to 100.
Yep. Yep. Because I wanna wear dragon parts as clothes. I want to do that. I'm going to put forth every bit of effort I have to wear dead dragon bits as clothes.
Well, yeah.
God. So, by the way, speaking of quests, now, Scott, you mentioned Fallout New Vegas. I hated that game so much I never even finished it, and
really?
I never gone back to it. I found it very glitchy and very repetitive. And I found too many of the quests pointless. There's one, I know I'm going to screw up the real details, but you go to a place where there's a bunch of mutants or something trying to eke out a living and, away from people. And they say, well, out on the street, there's a band of humans that are harassing us. Okay, I'll go take care of it. You go tell the humans, hey, stop harassing the mutants. They're not bothering anybody. Okay, we'll agree to that, and then the quest is over. I'm like, really? Really? And then that's when I stopped playing it, and I never went back and finished it. It irked me so much.
I actually really like that one.
At least with something like that, you would think it would up your speechcraft.
Maybe it did. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe I owe the game a second chance. I just found that I'm playing it, and I really wasn't getting anything out of it. I just wasn't enjoying it. I don't know. That's kind of odd to me. I really, really liked it. I think I liked it. I might have liked it more than 3, honestly. There was just a lot more to it, and I really enjoyed the leveling system, the little tweaks that they did to the leveling system. I liked a lot. You had to be a little bit more sparing with your choices because you get perks a little less often. There's a little more, it just puts a little bit more of a toughness to it, I guess you'd say. And that's the only one I've ever played where if you, this is so hilarious, you can put your intelligence down to basically nothing, and you can walk around like you have severe brain damage from, being shot in the head twice, and you can actually beat the game by having the character say the random shit that somebody with severe... Like, there's a part where the robot, there's like robotic sentries that won't let you into New Vegas unless you have enough money, and you just shout nonsense at them until they break, and that's how you get in. Because they have no idea how to respond to somebody just yelling pudding at the top of their lungs when they demand for money, and it is hysterical. It's so funny.
Now I want to go back just to try that. See, and that's one of those things about these games. As long as they've been out, there's still always stuff that I've never thought about trying that you can do.
Oh yeah.
But I like New Vegas. I like the kind of Old West flavor to it. I mean, I like Westerns, and I wrote a Western, so New Vegas really kind of struck home with me. And I loved the very beginning where you've got the shootout.
Right.
The guy's hiding in the gas station, and you gotta get him out, and you have this whole. It reminded me of like the OK Corral or something. It was probably one of the more exciting parts of the game, and it got my adrenaline pumping for the rest of it. I liked it a lot, warts and all.
All right. Well, maybe I owe it another try. Maybe it's just a bad mood. Then I don't know.
I'd give it another shot. I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But
I would give it another shot, and. All you can do is say, nope, I was right. I don't like it.
Or I could blame both of you.
Well, yeah. Well, you would have to get in line to blame me for stuff. Trust me.
All right, fair enough. Sons of bitches, I wasted another 500 hours on a game that I hated. Which I have done, by the way. I've played games that I didn't really like, but I just kept playing them out of spite.
I think every gamer's had that at some point or another.
Yeah, I've had that with a couple of games. I'll tell you the game that I had that with was Half-Life 2, but I didn't realize until I'd actually finished the game that I really didn't enjoy it, and then the way it ended really pissed me off. So, I mean, it pissed me off so much I didn't even bother getting the expansion packs for it because I didn't want to deal with it.
Well, good, but. They don't end, and then they never made, because the joke.
Yeah.
Steam, Valve can't count to 3.
Well,
they sure didn't.
Do you think that's ever going to come out? Will we ever see a Half-Life 3 in your lifetime, Kyle? It's certainly not going to be in mine.
No, I don't think so. If I have a good friend who always says if it were him, he'd release a new one and call it Half-Life 4 just to piss everyone off. Yeah, I don't think so. They don't seem to have much interest in making games anymore at all. Steam makes all their money, and they just kind of do Steam stuff now. So I would not count on ever seeing it, or a Portal 3, or a Left 4 Dead 3, or any third thing.
It's a shame because I absolutely loved the first Half-Life, even though I suck at first-person shooters like that. And I know the Fallout and Elder Scrolls games are kind of like first-person shooters in a way, but I have an easier time with those than something like Half-Life. I'm not sure why, but I loved Half-Life. I thought that was just such a good game.
Yeah, Half-Life is phenomenal, and I'm not sure how you could like Half-Life so much and not like Half-Life 2, but, well, I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
Well, it was the ending of Half-Life 2, really, and there were a couple of places that really got me, that really fucking annoyed me. One of them is where you have, I think you have like a boat, and you're trying to get get through this dam or these locks or something, and for whatever reason, I had a hell of a time trying to get through that. And there are just a couple of things like that I thought they made it specifically difficult just to kind of pad the time out for, because it was a fairly short game, all things considered.
Yeah, it is. I can see that. I didn't particularly like that part either.
So what do you want to see in Fallout 4? You know, that's coming out in a little bit, which is another reason why I thought this would be a good show to do. And we've seen some pretty impressive, I don't know if I'd want to call it gameplay, but, you know, in-game stuff. It looks really gorgeous. Just looks like it's going to be a great-looking game.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about it. What I want to see more than anything is I want to see, and I hear that I'm going to get this, actually. I want to see more pre-war stuff. I want to see more of how the world was in the weird perpetual 50s of the perpetual 1950s of the Fallout universe. Like I really want to see that, and I hear that the first hour or so of the game, the first couple hours, are going to be pre-war, because it sounds like the plot is that you are pre-war. You actually went into stasis as opposed to being a vault dweller. So you are going to wake up having lost your entire world. They're going to take this a different route. And I hear that the first stretch of the game is going to be pre-war, so that you have an actual loss when it happens. And that is exciting to me. I can't wait. That's very thrilling.
That is exciting.
I couldn't agree more. Like with all the Bethesda games, I want to see a compelling storyline, you know. When I first played Oblivion, I would play until I couldn't see, just because I wanted to see what would happen next, you know, right. Where does this go? Like, if I do this, what's going to happen, you know? And that's what I want to see. And, you know, the continual tweaks that they make to the AI, you know, I want to see, you know, characters behave like people might actually behave, you know? So we'll see. They're pretty good at that.
Yeah, with each game, they keep getting better and better with that. So I'm expecting a lot of good stuff from Fallout 4, and hopefully they translate that into another Elder Scrolls game whenever that comes out. You know, and that's really kind of what I want. I mean, I will definitely play Fallout 4, provided that my laptop can handle it.
I'll get it on the PS4, but
I really, really want another Elder Scrolls game. I love that universe. I can get far more lost in Skyrim and Morrowind and Oblivion than I can in any other game.
The thing that I liked about it, what really made me realize more than anything just how much I liked Skyrim, was realizing that the game made me feel cold. On a hot day, playing Skyrim actually gives me that sense of being cooled off.
Yeah.
Which it takes place, you know, for those who don't know, I mean, largely in like tundra, like this big frozen Iceland sort of place, you know, and it looks freezing. The game just feels cold in a way that is very difficult to describe unless you're playing it. And that's the kind of thing that I want to see in a game. The atmosphere is just so good. And all of the Bethesda games, all of them are that high quality in terms of atmosphere. That's what made New Vegas, that's what made me like New Vegas so much, actually. It's just, it's so incredibly the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and they really got the atmosphere nailed down with New Bakes, and I think you're right. I think they may have done that even better than they did with Fallout 3.
Oh yeah, it's a smaller map, and I don't think that there's quite as much going on in the game. The world itself just had this totally different feel to it that is, like very unique. 2 seconds here. I just had something cross my information about DLC for Fallout 4 being announced.
Oh, I think I saw something about that. Pre-order and you get all the DLC content for $30, I think.
Yeah, something like that. They've got a season pass. I'm just curious as to whether or not they gave any information on the DLC, because I always like to know. I always want to know. I have, I could talk for hours about my feelings on DLC in general, but I won't bother you guys with that today.
Actually, let's talk about that for a minute. What are your feelings about DLC? Because I've got some opinions on that myself.
Generally, I like it, but lately I think the focus on it is huge and weird, to the point where we're finding out what DLC is going to be for games where we actually see the games. And that's just it's weird. It's like this desperate grab for money. And they want money for the DLC before you've even seen the game the DLC is for. And that's kind of ridiculous. For me, Bethesda kind of gets a pass on that, because DLC and expansions have always been a huge part of what they are. So I give it leeway for these guys, but it's a trend in the industry overall where, I saw, and I'm not the only person, you see announcements for the Batman DLC at the end of the launch trailer, before we even knew what the gameplay for Arkham Knight was going to look like. We knew what the DLC was going to be, and that's kind of ridiculous. As a concept, I'm all for it. I love the idea of, oh man, I ran out of game. Wait, you mean if I give you a few dollars, you'll give me more game? Okay, I'm 100% for that in theory. It's just the practices lately are really throwing me off.
What about you, Todd? What do you think about DLCs?
I'm all for it, in the sense that, like Kyle just said, when I played Skyrim through the first time and I was all done, I'm like, oh, that sucks. Oh, wait a second, I can get more. But to his point, Kyle, to your point, you're right. It seems like they're already thinking about DLC before a game is even complete or released. And I'm all for people making money. This is America. I don't care about that. But at some point, as a gamer, I want to be viewed as a little more than just a wallet. And my only hope for any game is that they don't rush the game, a game to market, thinking, well, we'll just stack it up with DLC later on. We'll skimp on the main game, and then we'll just stack it up with DLC later. I hate that shit.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's probably what they did with Half-Life 2. Going back to that again for a minute. But Bethesda really kind of got that ball rolling, because they started with microtransactions. If you remember I think it was Oblivion, that was the first game where you could buy armor for the horse.
Yeah, there were a lot of little pieces of DLC that you could buy from them. The thing is, and microtransactions in general I hate them. But again, Bethesda's always sort of got a pass from me, because time and time again they prove that the stuff that they're putting out for this extra money is actually worth our money. It's just kind of opened a door,
How much of that do you think is because, with the popularity of mobile games and, the freemium aspect for a lot of mobile games, that's changing how people are looking at gaming, and not just on mobile, but on consoles and stuff as well?
I don't think that it's that the people are looking at it differently. I think it's that the creators of the games, the company, not even the devs, no, but the actual companies behind the devs, I think that they are looking at the phone and mobile gaming model and seeing infinite money and wanting to get infinite money out of us. So they're putting those elements in the games whether we ask for them or not.
Sadly, I think that microtransactions and in-game purchases are, it's sad, but it's headed that way. You know, I don't play too many games on my cell phone. I have one or two. So if I'm taking the train, if I have to take the train into to work or something, I have something to do.
Right.
But, you know, people make me laugh when they bitch about ads and stuff in a free game. I'm like, dummy, nothing is free. You know, a developer doesn't pour time and money and effort into a game, put it out there for free, like a full version for free. They're going to get you somehow, you know?
Right.
If console games and PC games really start going that route, I'm going to be really upset. But we'll see. Again, it's all about making money. You know, if you think about it, Angry Birds was downloaded over 3 billion times, you know, and they made a staggering amount of money off of that game, a staggering amount. Same thing with all of them, you know, any game that has microtransactions, it's just a profit center.
Well, they were really smart with what they did with Angry Birds, because when the original came out, they charged 99 cents for it. There was no in-app purchases or anything, and they updated it with new levels on a regular basis for a very long time. I want to say at least over a year. And then when they started coming out with the knockoffs like Angry Birds Rio and Angry Birds Space, that's when they started doing the microtransactions and the downloadable content. But by that time, they'd gotten people so hooked on the game. You know, it was a brilliant move on their part.
Yep.
Although they've gone a little bit overboard with, you know, with how much that they charge for the downloadable content and the in-app purchases. I mean, really, you're going to spend $100 to get stuff in a game that you play on your phone? Give me a break.
and yet people do it. You know, the game. You know, they advertise. What's that game? That game that Kate Upton's boobs advertises all the time. Game of War or whatever.
Right.
Oh my God! I never played it because I was onto them real quick. But I know friends who play it that invest hundreds of dollars a month, and I'm like, are you joking with this? I'd rather cough up $60 or $70 on the next Elder Scrolls game and get 1,000 hours out of it without spending another dollar.
Oh, exactly. I will say, I know neither of you have played Fallout Shelter on your phones, and I have, and I haven't played it a lot. I played a couple hours of it, but I like it. It's a little bit repetitive, but they do the in-app purchases right. You don't actually need to get them in order to progress through the game. It doesn't even really make it easier. It's almost kind of like bonus stuff. Right. So I think in that respect, Bethesda got it right. And it's actually really kind of a fun game, if it is just a little bit repetitive. But it passes the time when I'm in the bathroom.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of wrap this up. And let's end with this. Todd, what would you tell somebody who's never played an Elder Scroll game?
Wow. I would tell them you're missing out on one of the best video game and cinematic experiences that you could actually immerse yourself in, and that there's something wrong with you.
What about you, Kyle?
I would say play one. Absolutely play one. The main reason why I haven't talked too much about what they are here is the same reason why I never talk too much about what Metal Gear is, because there's way too much to try and explain. You just really have to experience these games, They're just some of the most immersive if nothing else, it is a gigantic, beautiful world for you to have a look at and just see how it is.
For me, it's just the cheapest vacation that you can take.
I like it.
I like that.
I like it.
Because there were times that I will get on the game, not to do a quest, not to get the story going along, but just to ride around on the horse and just kind of take everything in. You see some absolutely gorgeous sunrises and some gorgeous sunsets, and the terrain is so varied that it never gets really repetitive. And so it's just very easy to get yourself lost in that. Speaking of Metal Gear Solid, you spent a little bit of time talking about that on your podcast with Jack this week.
I did. Yeah, a little bit of time.
Just a touch. So
yeah.
If you want to hear what Kyle has to say about Metal Gear Solid, that game that I just said, Metal Gear Solid, it's a tongue twister. Check out what is Jack Random's podcast name, or does it actually just change every week? Because it
actually does change every week. We just go with it's just Jack Random's when we need to just refer to the podcast as a whole. This week it's Jack Random's Phantom Podcast.
Well, you can just look for Jack Random's on the Supernauts website, along with all the other podcasts, and including a couple of my own, Jailbait, that I do with one and only Wade Radford, where we talk about prison movies, and a new one that I'm doing with Jerry Janda about movies in general, and that's Weekday Matinee. And those both come out once a month because, quite frankly, we can't be bothered to do it more than that. Kyle, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Happy to do it. I had fun too.
And as I said, you can find Kyle on the website. And until next time, may all your journeys be filled with pure imagination.